Bambiz presents Elder Law Growth, the podcast that helps elder law and estate planning attorneys attract clients without wasting time or money. I'm your host, Jim Blake. Let's dive in. Welcome back to the Elder Law Growth Podcast presented by Bambiz, the team that helps elder law and estate planning attorneys grow their firms, fill their workshops, and connect with their communities. Learn more at bambiz.net. Today, I am talking to Geoff Hoatson, founder of Family First Firm in Winter Park, Florida. If you were at the Estate Planning and Elder Law Marketing Summit, you probably saw Geoff on stage with our very own Jason Navarro sharing some game-changing ways attorneys can use AI in their practice. We've got Geoff here with us now, and we're going to dive into how he built his firm, what he's been working on in 2025, and how he's using innovation and leadership to keep on growing. Geoff, welcome to the show. I'm glad to have you here.
Appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, I wanted to jump right in and talk about scaling. And we'll start with, what inspired you to launch your Family First Firm?
So, my family went through a lot of very challenging elder law situations. I have like a whole story and explanation, all that sort of stuff. But the high points, my grandfather got disinherited by a deathbed wife. That same grandfather ended up getting Alzheimer's very young, a lot of long-term care costs and expenses. His wife ended up getting a car accident when she was driving over to see him, got sued. Other side of the family, both my grandparents ended up with Alzheimer's / dementia. They got taken advantage of by helpful neighbor to the tune of, $20,000, $30,000 by the time my parents figured it out. Then of course, long-term care associated with that too. So my family's kind of made all the mistakes and I saw all of that. That's really what led me to elder law. What really caused me to start my firm was the Great Recession back in 2009, and the economy was hemorrhaging lawyers and I got laid off from the firm I was at. And not a lot of prospects. I said, well, maybe I'll start my own.
Awesome. Was there a key point in that process where you were like, I chose the right practice area, elder law is where I want to be?
Yeah, that was a little bit later in 2009. There weren't a lot of people who were looking to update estate planning documents, or, everyone had kind of lost their shirt in the market and home values tanked and people were over leveraged. And so, there were a lot of divorces going on. So I did a bunch of divorce work initially, which wasn't anything I ever had any passion about. But, as things kind of recovered in the economy, I was able to get out of that and focus on elder law.
Let's transition a little bit into team building and building the right team, because I know that's something that you're passionate about. So what's your hiring or leadership philosophy?
That's a good question. So we run on EOS, the Entrepreneur Operating System from Traction.
I'm very familiar.
Yeah. So they're big on having core values. We hire, fire, promote, that sort of stuff related to those. One thing that we've done recently this year that I really like a lot more is we've kind of created what we call success behaviors. Core values, right? Like one of our core values is everything is figure outable. Cool. That's great. That's awesome. But what does that mean? How do you know if somebody's exhibiting that? So what we've done is I created kind of like 20 core success behaviors, I call them. And we actually have like little pocket cards that everyone has. And I call it the Family First Firm way, the FFF way. And so everybody has it, and it talks about all the different things that are the success behaviors. And we reward people when we're having meetings and they have their FFF way card in their pocket, just to remind them of that sort of stuff. But examples of these are things like exercise radical candor. Just being like very open, always assuming positive intent, go the extra mile, be willing to change, do the right thing always, deliver results, make quality personal. So these are things that we can say like, is this person doing that? That really helps us when we're trying to sort through, hey, is this the right person for our organization? Now the challenge is you don't generally know that until they're in your firm. And so you have the people say the right things, they give the right examples. But, you do your best. There's no one out here that's in existence that's made perfect hires every time, right? Unless they just made one.
That's a challenge for everybody. Yeah.
Yeah. So, some of those things help. There's a book called Who by Jeff Smart. He spells his first name the same way I do. And that gives a pretty good template for interviewing people and trying to sort through I'll call it the BS that people try to sell you sometimes. So it's a combination of a lot of different strategies that have helped us, and we don't always get it right.
Yeah, no,
like I said, that's a challenge. And just for those that are listening, and he was mentioning EOS, there's a book, Traction. The author, I believe, is Gino Wickman.
That's correct.
Using that off the top of my head here.
Mhm.
That's a great book. He has multiple books, and
He
then
does.
says
Rocket
Traction
Fuel.
is the one that you read as the business owner, and
Right.
then there's another one I forget that you give to your team, and that
What the heck is EOS?
Yes,
That's
yeah.
if you just want to kind of like a high level view of what it is and how it works, just to get like a feel for, hey, is this something that would work for us? You could just go read that. It's written like 5th grade reading level, pictures and stuff. We have our team read it in their first week here, and they get through it in the first week while they're doing all kinds of other stuff too. It's not a real time intensive sort of book to read, but it would give you a good idea. It's a nice summary, and then you could really dive into Traction if you wanted to like really try to figure out this is right for you.
And I know that there's different ways you can do it. You can just read the book and you can self-implement it. You can hire people to come in there and implement it for you and kind of coach you on that process. And so for those that are listening, I'll throw the link to the book inside the show notes so you can click on that and take a peek. But it's definitely a great place to start. Like if you're thinking about hiring, leadership, how to run and scale any type of business, including obviously an estate planning and elder law firm, that's a good place to start. So
great book, great system. I think the most important thing about any of this stuff is just you never get it right, so you keep working on it. There's still every day, I'm realizing, oh, I screwed up this. Oh, I didn't do that right. I need to work on my leadership in this area, and just it never ends.
Yeah, no, and I really like that pocket card that you have, and that's one of the things that I'm working on that as well. Is like we come up with these core values and things like that, and I'm not very good personally at like repeating that over and over and over again because sometimes in my mind I'm like, you know what, I've said this multiple times. They obviously get they get this. Well, the answer, you have to say it like a million times, more than you actually feel like you have to say it. But I like that pocket card because we have the core values on the wall and things like that. But like any type of a hiring or firing or corrective action, conversation, it can come back to that card. Points 2, 3, and 4. There was not alignment here with this.
Yeah.
You literally have in your case, you literally have a card that we give you, and it just says that this is the thing. So I really like that idea. I might actually steal that idea.
You should. I didn't come up with it. I steal all my great ideas.
But we have it on the wall. We talk about it. It's in our dashboard. We use like a modified version of EOS, but it's in like our little our scorecard. We have like the clarity compass, and it has our core values and everything there. But it's like, here they are, I can't repeat it enough, and I'm personally working on that. So that's good to see.
Yeah. I will say that it does help kind of add specifics to things. You have core values that you say, oh, we don't feel like you're exhibiting this. And they're like, oh, I do feel like I'm exhibiting it. And it's like, it's a little amorphous, it's difficult to, have like real tangible sort of stuff associated with it. This is very tangible,
right?
Which is nice.
Definitely love that. So let's jump a little bit into and shift gears here into like just marketing. And I know your marketing is different than some of the things that we'll say. And then I want to focus on like what you're doing here at your firm. So what has been historically like your best marketing channel or strategy?
The two things that I think we have tended to see the best results from first has been probably just our Google reviews. So we have like over 700 5-star reviews, and people comment on them all the time when they call it. Our team will be like, oh yeah, thanks for calling us. How'd you find us? Like, oh, you have amazing reviews. Cool. Now, the thing of that is a lot of these people may hear of us from other ways, but then when they Google us to do some research, they see the reviews and they're like, okay, this seems legit. I just say that to say that, that it gives like validation to maybe the other way that they found us. So that's really important. But the other thing—
I'm going to interrupt there. Just to clarify for our listeners, did that happen by luck, or was that an intentional thing that you just magically got 700 plus reviews?
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't want to use the word militant, but I'm very, very serious. Like I have one of my rocks each quarter is reviews, getting us to reviews and keeping on top of everyone to make sure that they're requesting them and getting them. It's a major focus of mine.
No, I just want to say that out loud because again, like we talk to like obviously firms all over the country all the time. And sometimes it's like they think that the people are just going to on their own, they're just going to magically get all these reviews just because of how great they are. And they could be the best in the world. And they're not intentionally focused on asking and asking and asking for these reviews. They're not going to happen. And one of the things that we've seen now when you do searching, one of the things that AI is going through is reviews, right? Yeah. If I am in Orlando and I do type in who should I go to for estate planning or elder law or whatever it may be, it's going to say, this guy has 700 plus reviews. Let's throw that name out there, and that's a big key on that. So I just wanted to throw that out. Yeah. Be intentional on that. And also too, are all those people your clients, or have they just had an interaction with you necessarily?
It's a combination of both.
Right. It's not just paid clients though. It's you might have gone somewhere and been a guest lecturer and they enjoyed your presentation so much that they gave you a 5-star review.
Yep. Presentations, other attorneys, referral sources. It's all over the place. You talk about like people don't do it on their own. I mean, I like eating. I'm clearly, but I'll eat at places I really enjoy and I rarely leave reviews. And I had a great experience there. It would suggest that most clients are not having a rave-worthy experience at a law office, no matter how good it is. It's probably not something where they're like, oh my God, like they're more likely to rave about their lunch that they didn't leave a review for. What are the chances that they're going to leave it for you? It's very slim.
One of the things also is if I'm paying a lawyer to help with my planning, I'm also expecting great service. I think I have a level of expectation of I'm paying a professional to do this thing for me that needs to be done. Obviously, the lawyer is going to provide me with 5-star service. You know what I mean? And also too, if I do go out to eat and I have a great time, yeah, you're right. I'm probably not leaving a 5-star review unless they ask me, kindly. But if I have a horrible, miserable experience, you better bet if they don't rectify that at that place, I'm going to leave a bad review. So there's that as well. Yeah. So I know you had mentioned some like presentations. Are you still doing those right now?
We're getting back into it. I've been retooling some stuff, just kind of some messaging and I'll say like kind of brand positioning within the market. That stuff's probably going live within a month or two. But part of that is going to be doing more presentations. I got lazy. Just honestly, it's the old like, hey, it works so well, we quit doing it sort of thing. So I got lazy doing them. I figured I don't need to keep going out there. No, I do. The bottom line is it allows people to connect with me. I feel like I can sell my firm better than anybody else can. Confidence sells, right? Who's going to be more confident in your own firm than you? So we're in the process. In fact, later this week, I have 2 that I'm doing out in communities.
Very cool. And I do want to ask, I didn't have it on here, but I just popped in my head because I was doing a podcast a couple of weeks ago, and this was a big talking point. So when you named your firm, did you have a specific reason you didn't, name it your name?
Oh, I did name it my name. After about 4 years, I realized that nobody can spell my name. And like, if I say, yeah, my name is Geoff Hoatson, you never type that into Google. And so I was like, well, I'm basically ungoogleable. So that was kind of a props. So I was like, well, I need to probably name it something else. At the time, we were still doing some family law. We were doing estate planning. We were doing probate. We hadn't really pushed heavily into elder law at that point. But I was like, what's the common theme of family? People's families. That's what we're dealing with. And so it's like, we put people's families first. So that was where the name of the firm came from, I should say. Also, the domain was available. They did as well.
Domain. Yeah.
I ended up naming it that. And it's been great since. I will say we did get out of family law, and we still do get family law calls with some frequency that we have to refer out. And some people get kind of like upset about it. I'll say the average consumer generally doesn't know that what we do is family law, that divorce work is family law.
Right.
The average consumer, when I used to talk about doing family law, they're like, oh, great, I need a will. They're like, oh, well, I can do that. But I feel like it's people who have had exposure to family law that then assume that that's what we do. We've had some people upset. They're like, we see your reviews are so great. We want to work with you. I'm like, well, we don't do that. But
yeah, no, for sure. Well, that's good. That's a good backstory there. Let's jump into AI. I know you obviously talked with Jason on the stage at Summit about AI, but things change very rapidly since the time that you actually talked with Jason. Now, I can make some really cool pictures and things like that it couldn't.
Yeah.
What's been the most useful or surprising way that you've been using AI so far for the firm this year, 2025?
So I use AI super regularly. The challenge that I've found is that I saw this meme and it really put a fine point on it. And when I read it, it really resonated with me. I kind of adjusted the way I'm dealing with AI, but the meme said this. It said, I think it's amazing how AI knows everything about the topics I don't know anything about, but they're about 60% right on the topics that I do know stuff about. And I'm never going to think about that fact again, because there are some things that it doesn't do well. As an example, we were trying to run a comparison based on all of our different call rail numbers compared to all the people who called our office over the course of like 3 months. So this is an unreal undertaking, thousands of calls. And so one of my team members, her and one of her support team members were going to do this themselves. I was like, this is going to take you like 20 man hours. This is crazy. So I said, let me try to AI it first. So I uploaded them and I had to go through probably about 5 or 6 iterations because I was paying attention to what it was going to be. And I have, this was on ChatGPT Pro, the $200 a month subscription. So you think like you're getting like the best of the best, right? But like it was first, I asked them to run against each other. It just ran the one against itself. And I was like, well, that's not right. And so then I asked it to do it again. It's like, oh, you're right. Sorry. It came back. The number totals were very different between the 2 spreadsheets. And I was like, well, hang on a second. This isn't right. Like, oh, you're right. Sorry. And so I had to keep pinning it. Like, you can't just accept it at face value. And that to me has, I think, recently been the most, I'll say, surprising thing about it is how much I have to babysit it. It still saved us 19 and a half man hours. So it was absolutely worth it, but you can't just like assume that it has it all figured out. Cause I wanted just like hey, it's done, it's perfect sort of thing. And it's not there yet.
No, it definitely is not there yet. And people do get frustrated with it is because they're like, well, I gave it this thing and it did it. And it, my current writer can do better than that. And that's true, but you've got to get really good at like almost coaching it.
Yeah.
And like almost, you're like, it is almost like a little employee, right? You're like, you're training it, you're giving it like your SOPs, you're showing it how to do different things. You're kind of like, growing its back end brain. And then you're feeding it the information that you want to so that it can write things or contemplate things or calculate things based on, your voice and how you want it to be done. But then there is that, I need to go back and I need to double check that at least some key areas that it's like having some checkpoints where it is doing the things I wanted to do and it's getting the right result that I needed to get. And yeah, there is definitely some nuances with it, but it's as dumb as it's going to be ever today.
Right.
And I think that's the part that's a little bit crazy is like,
it's exciting.
Yeah. It's like, what is it going to do? And I know that was one of the things that you were talking with Jason about was getting it to answer inbound calls. Mm-hmm. Were you ever able to get that going?
That's one of my rocks this quarter. It's something I'm still looking at. We have a current overflow answering system that we don't feel is doing a very good job. And it's very expensive. I actually have 3 1-star Google reviews from people's experiences with that company. I mean, we've had, in some cases, the person hung up on one of the callers and, another one was like confrontational, combative. And so like, AI will never do that. I mean, seniors may not want to talk to a machine, but I at least know that they'll never yell at them or hang up on them or be disrespectful or rude, Yeah.
I wanted to talk about creating a great client experience. So obviously with over 700 reviews, what are you doing to make every client have that great experience at your firm?
It's definitely a major focus. That's our mission, offering our clients an unparalleled client experience. I always use the example and talk with my team. I'm like, think about the best dining experience you've ever had. Like, what was bad about it? Well, hopefully nothing. Maybe it was more expensive than you wanted to pay, but in theory, like the wait time was great. The ambiance was good. The wait staff was fantastic. They weren't overbearing. They did a great job of explaining the menu. The drinks were great. The food was great. Dessert was great. The timing was good. Maybe there was like something a little special. Like here in Orlando, we have Kappa. And if you are eating during a time where the Disney's going fireworks, they'll pause your dinner, take you out to their balcony. You'll watch the fireworks from a pretty great vantage point and then go back to the restaurant. Super cool. So there's all these things that make it really good. It's not just, yes, the food should be good, but it's all this other stuff. And that's, what I'm always focused on is not doing the law office, what we call, which drives me nuts because, it's scary enough to call law office to begin with, let alone having like some angry, upset woman, whatever.
Yeah. And the problem is like 40% of the firms have that exact experience.
It's wild.
Yeah,
it's wild, but yeah, it really does just be very intentional about it. So I do quarterly, like call it book club kind of. And basically what we do is we, have a book of the quarter and then we have a quiz at the end. And if you get an A on the quiz, you get $300. If you get a B, you get $200. If you get a C, you get $100. If you get a D or lower, you have to contribute $50 to our foundation. The only reason I do that $50 thing is because I want people just not reading the book and just taking a shot at the test, right? The goal of the test is not to fail people. It's to show people, it shows A, that they've read it, and then B, elicit information from them about how we could apply the things that they're learning within our organization. Because when I read that book and I think about how I can apply it, well, I just have my perspective, but my team all has different perspectives. The point of this, though, is that Unreasonable Hospitality is the first book that we ever used. And that is always one of the options. Even as we have a new book, if you haven't done Unreasonable Hospitality, we always encourage people to start there. Have you read that book by chance?
No, but I've been on calls with like masterminds that have had the author on there talking about
cool.
it.
Yeah,
You know, people that are in this world that are actually like, you can be certified, I guess, in unreasonable hospitality.
Oh, okay, cool.
And so there are, yeah. I've heard great things.
There's that stuff. There is also a book that isn't by the same guy, but I feel it's almost like 2.0. How do you apply this? It's called The Power of Moments. That was our book last quarter. But the bottom line here is, I think if you have people focus on the stuff and thinking about this stuff regularly, even thinking about how you would implement that, within your own business, then, I mean, those are the sorts of things that you can really roll out and make sure that you're offering an unparalleled client experience.
No, I really like that. I know you said, The Power of Moments, Unreasonable Hospitality. Is there any other books out there that you would recommend that team dive into?
I mean, not for that stuff. We mix them up. Sometimes they're like more self-improvement. Atomic Habits was one of ours. Hey, it's great. How do you be better at the stuff you want? We did Jocko Extreme Ownership, one quarter. That one didn't get a lot of buy-in. A lot of people reading it. I mean, I thought it's a good book, but
yeah, it's a good book. I have read that one.
Everyone's different. That one may not be as meaningful to the team, but we've done a myriad of different books over the last few years. Those are some of the ones that I feel like are most meaningful if you're trying to really conceptualize how you could be different in the services you're providing your clients.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing that makes different firms stand out from one another, are those differences.
Yeah.
Otherwise, people lump you into a generic
commodity.
You don't want to be that.
Your commodity, and then the lowest price wins.
Yeah. That's not what we want.
Yeah.
Well, before we wrap up, do you have any final thoughts or lessons or encouragement you'd want to share with other elder law attorneys out there?
Yeah, I mean, I think just the big thing is, just understanding you're going to fail a lot. And it's most of the time about optimizing. I mean, we've done so many things that didn't work. And in most cases, it was just about figuring out how to make it work rather than just assuming, oh, this doesn't work for us. And the mistakes are going to be aplenty. And, you see plenty of people talking about it. It's just like, who's going to get up more? Like, you're going to keep getting up again, keep pushing forward. One of my team members told me, she's like, oh, it's a rough day, not a rough life. And I was like, yeah, but you string together enough rough days and it starts to feel like a rough life. But, I mean, ultimately getting up and continuing to push forward. I actually keep that quote from Calvin Coolidge up in my office, the one about pressing on. Here, I'll says, nothing in this world can take the place of persistence. Talent will not. Nothing is more common than unsuccessful than with talent. It goes on about genius and education, all that stuff. But the only thing that really persistence, it's all about persistence and sticking with it. And so it's there to remind me that even when stuff's really difficult, it won't be difficult forever.
Yeah. It's kind of like the Winston Churchill never quit, Like,
yeah, exactly.
Don't quit. I mean, if you can outlive your competitors, if you can outlive the competition, if you can just get up to fight another day,
That's right.
You'll be the one standing there at the end,
Yeah. I mean, it's tough sometimes for sure. You think it's sometimes, but
especially when you get people involved and emotions involved. I mean, that's probably the most difficult thing. I mean, I can figure out something with like a process or a system or something like that. But if someone's grandma's going through in the nursing home and their emotions are wild and brothers and sisters are fighting, and then at the same time, your employees are having issues or something, they had a flat tire on the way to the office, it can be an interesting day. Yeah.
The job will be easy, but for the people.
Yeah. Very good. Well, before I let you go, where can listeners learn more about you and the work you're doing at Family First?
Sure. You can do it at fff.law, LAW. So FFF, familyfirstfirm.law. You can also go to familyfirstfirm.com, but it's way more typing. And people normally just stop at Family First, and that's not us. So instead of Family First Firm, so I just give them fff.law. And, you can connect with me on LinkedIn or Facebook or whatever.
Awesome. Well, thank you for your insights. That's a wrap for this episode of Elder Law Growth Podcast, brought to you by Bambiz. If you want to grow your firm like Geoff and use tools like AI, smart marketing, and events that convert, check us out at bambiz.net. Big thanks again, Geoff, for joining us today. Make sure to visit his firm. It's fff.law. To see what a high-performing elder law practice looks like. If you like this episode, follow the show. Leave a review. Obviously, we just talked about reviews. It helps more attorneys like you find us. Let us know your favorite takeaway from today and how you're using AI in your practice. Until next time, keep growing, keep serving, and keep showing up for your community. Thanks again.
That's a wrap on another episode of the Elder Law Growth Podcast, your one-stop shop for all things marketing for elder law and estate planning law firms. Here you can find all of the tools and skills you need to market your own practice without wasting your time. If you like this podcast, please leave us a review wherever you're listening. And if you're ready to take the pressure off and let our team handle your marketing, visit bambiz.net and book a free call with us today.